Hello YouTube, you're going to make some tree huggers or tree straps for your hammock. Everything you need to know is in this video: types of webbing, how to stitch it, how to measure it out, how to design the lengths and all the rest of it. So everything you need to know is in this video. It's a masterclass, so we're going to the very detail of what needles to use, what thread to use, what you can and can't do, how to lock off thread, how to stop the ends from fraying, every single thing. So if you want a real professional set of straps, this is where you'll get it. It's not a quick video by any means. So we'll start off with the webbing itself. I've got some selections here, so I'll turn the camera around. I'll show you. So here, this is all different types here, and this stuff. So let's have a look at these in detail. I'll turn you around. So here you go, here's some of the webbing. This is my favourite stuff at the moment. This is the Dyneema polypropylene webbing from Dutch. Super light, super strong. I've got here tree hugger joined with this to continuous strap just to put on some cinch buckles. I'm going to show you how to do this, stop the ends fraying. This is an overcast stitch on the end. Stops it fraying or doing anything. I'm going to show you how to do the loop. So that's that stuff. Yeah, pretty strong stuff. I like that. Then there's this other stuff you can get, all these other ones. So this is the stuff you see on eBay. This is just 1 inch wide, strong polypropylene webbing. This is perfectly good for tree straps. Sometimes you get little fraying bits on the edges. Sometimes it will catch in the bark a bit because it's loose weave. But you can use it, no problem at all. This will hold up to about 25 stone, so it's really strong stuff, really thick stuff, a little bit heavier than some of the specialised stuff. So that's that stuff. Then what else have we got? Something else from Dutch. This stuff's from Dutch. This is Dutch's thin, strong webbing. It's a really tight weave, no fraying edges. I love this stuff. It's quite cheap as well. And then because I got so much stuff, I just bound it up and write all the stuff on here, so I don't have to keep working it out. So it's where it's from, the weight, the strength, breaking strain, and then so when you're looking at webbing, you want a 5:1 safety margin. So whatever the breaking strain is, divide that by 5, and that'll roughly give you your safety weight. You can go up a little bit if you want to push the margin a bit, but that's a good safety weight. So this will take 21.4 stone, which is really strong. So this is nice, lightweight, high quality webbing from Dutch. There's other stuff though. This stuff I get from a German company called Extreme Textile. It's quite a famous company. This is polyester strong webbing. When you look on their website, it's a medium weave. It's not super close, but there's no fraying ends. It is very thick. It's quite light, so on here you can see 25 mil again, and this will take up to 24 stone. So this is a little bit stronger than the Dutch stuff, probably a little bit heavier, but really good and really cheap. And then we got this stuff which I push the margin with. So this is super light. This is about half the thickness, half the weight of the Dutch stuff. Very light. But now we're on the margin, so this is 16 stone rating I've worked out. So that is, you've got to convert from newtons there, it's a bit more complicated. But this will take up to 16 stone comfortably. I'm about 11, sometimes 12, so this is fine for me. So this is nice and light, and yeah, I use this. So that's the different types of webbing. Take the breaking strain of the webbing, divide by 5, and that's your safety limit, really, what you can go up to. And then we'll move on to the next thing now. So that divide by 5 thing, that's actually kind of a strange thing. If you're doing rock climbing and safety is really critical, then they use a 10:1 ratio. So the breaking strain of what you're using should be more than or equal to 10 times your weight. So that's the safety margin they got. On hammocking, you're only a few feet off the ground, so it's not a big deal. But 5:1 is recommended. That's why you don't use single line paracord, because that's nowhere near 5:1 rating, and it has snapped in the past. I've seen it snapped. You can use multiple strands of paracord, but it's very heavy, takes on water, stretches, it's not ideal. So yeah, 5 to 1 is a good ratio to go on. Right, so what should we use? Today I'm going to make 2 10-foot tree straps. So why do we use this? This is to protect the bark of the tree so it doesn't damage the tree. Because we could just use Dyneema-cord, but the fibres get caught in the bark, so it wears it and it can cut into the tree. So we use nice wide strap, 1 inch is recommended to do tree huggers. I'm going to do 2 10-foot ones. That's the final length, so we can use some cinch buckles and put it straight on the end of the hammock. So don't need whoopee slings, don't need any other adjustments. That's what I want for these. They're going to be a bit stealthy, so I'm either going to use green or black. I think I use black. I use some of the nice stuff, and I want it quite lightweight, so I'm going to push it on this 16 stone max rating one, which is super light. So first we've got to work out how much we need. So I get some paper. So how do you work out anything I'm doing in terms of Dyneema or cord or anything I'm making really? I usually draw it out first. So what we're going to need is let's do it in a darker colour. So we need a length like that, and then we'll need a loop, and then we need some stitching. And this end's going to be free, there's going to be nothing on this end, okay? But we want this length here to end up being 10 feet. Okay. So how big do we want our loop? So we need at least, so for a loop on the end, I usually go for a minimum of 3 inches because that's enough to get other straps through and things like that. I think on this one, I'm going to go 4 inches. Yeah, I'm going to have a 4-inch loop. So from there to there is going to be 4 inches, and then you want a minimum of a 3-inch space for stitching. So we go for 3 inches there, which means you're going to stitch about 2.5 inches in total. So what we need is 10 foot plus 4 inches plus 3 inches total length of your webbing. So the next thing to do, and we need that times 2 because we're going to do two straps. So I'm going to measure that out and come back to you. So I didn't have enough of the super lightweight stuff, so I'm going to use the Dutch stuff, which is a bit stronger. And what I do is just get a Wonder clip. These are really cool clips for sewing. And I just mark off the distance, 127 inches, mark that off, and I need to cut across there. So normally I'll just get a knife, get a really sharp knife, use some of the lines, just cut that. There we go. Nice clean cut. Now as soon as it's cut, you don't want to touch it very much. You want to get your lighter and you want to just singe those ends just to stop the threads coming out. So you can leave it like that, but we're going to do something else to give it a bit more of a rugged end. You can see this end, the free end, starting to fray already. So what I'll do is I will trim that. So we just singe the other end. I just trim that end, and we just singe that. Just melt in the end. So that's that. So you don't have to have a little knife, you can also use a good pair of scissors. Just find in the middle of this web in a minute. So use the scissors on there. Not quite as neat ends, but it's okay. And I also use these sometimes. These are little burners. You can get them on eBay. They're for sterilising medical equipment, but they're really good. for singeing ends and stuff like that. You can adjust the wick, so you can adjust the height of the burner. Just makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Not too much, just to melt the ends. Quite handy those, I like those. That one's called a Verco, if you're interested. Nice little burner. So that's the end sin. Now we need to bind these ends so they don't come undone if the melting bit comes off. So we'll do that next. So something I do while I'm sewing is make sure I tidy everything away. I've done all my cutting, done all the melting of the ends, so I don't need that out now, so I just clear everything away so I've got a nice clear empty space to work on. Keeping things tidy is really a big part of having good quality products at the end, I think. If everything's a mess everywhere, it's very hard to get really good quality products. So first we're going to do is just seal this end with an overcast stitch. Now what's going to happen is we're going to stitch a zigzag, and the right hand side of the zigzag is going to fall off the end, so you end up with what's called an overcast, and it stops anything fraying. So before we do that, what thread are we going to use? We're going to use a grey thread, just so you can see it really, but I'm going to use a Gutermann's, so look, polyester Terra 60. This is a super strong thread. It really is incredible thread. Now you can use Sewall, Gutermann's Sewall, no problem at all. It's certainly strong enough, without a doubt. So just get some Sewall and use that if you don't have the special strong thread, and it'll be absolutely fine. With this stuff though, it is thicker, so you do need a different bobbin tension underneath, so I change a different bobbin with the right tension for this particular thread. So let's do that. You'll notice on your machine, obviously they don't go on here very well, so I've got like a stand that you put it on, goes up to a little hook and then across to your machine, and that means you can use the big spools on any machine. Then these little stands you can get on eBay. Try and get a cast iron one because it's nice and heavy and strong. So that's the thread all ready to go. Now needles, I would say for webbing you need a lot bigger needle than you traditionally use. Traditionally use a 60 or 70 needle, maybe a Microtex. Let's have a look. So you'll use something like this for normal sewing perhaps. Now they have got tiny blades on and super sharp points, which are not ideal for webbing. On a webbing you don't want to cut a hole, you want to push the fibres aside to make a hole, so you're not actually cutting anything. So for that you can use a ballpoint needle, or I use these. These are organ needles. These are really high quality needles, got a nice round end on them, not super sharp, and I use size 100 for these because these are a nice big hole when you're pushing the fibres aside is essential if you don't want lots of thread bulking up underneath and catching and things like that. These will just fly through without any problem. So yeah, go for a bigger needle size if you can. Right, let's get this all set up. I'm trying to set this up as though I'm looking at it, so on my angle that I look at, so you can see how I see it when I'm stitching. So we're just going to seal this end off now. We're going to overcast stitch, we're going to stitch in there and then off the end, stitch off the end, stitch off the end. So let's just put this in ready. So I'm making sure the needle on mine goes on the left, yours might be in the middle, but it starts off there, goes off the edge, off the edge, off the edge. And we're going to start by going forwards and backwards on a straight stitch just to lock the thread. So let's do that first. Yeah, and then we're going to do a wide stitch, about a number 2 on mine, but you'll have to practice how much zigzag you want. You go all the way down, all the way back up, and then a straight stitch again. There we go, pull that out. have a look at that. So you've got zigzag over the end. That's never going to fray or break or anything like that. It shows up quite a lot. Normally I'd use black thread on this, but I just wanted to do it so you could see it. You see what it looks like. Just trim the ends. Bit of tension on them. Now sometimes you'll find there's a few odd threads that have been pulled out part machining, so just seal those off, run it next to a flame. And that is your zigzag, backwards and forwards, stitched on the end so it's lock-in. You can go backwards and forwards in the same place, but I don't like that. I prefer a straight stitch that goes the other way. It seems to hold better. That won't fray now. So that's your stop your end fraying. So what we're going to do now is take the other end. This is the one where we need the loop. So we need, let's make a bit of space and tidy up. So we wanted a 4-inch loop and 3 inches of stitching space. So in total it would be 7 inches. Like that. So you measure out 7 inches like that. A bit longer. When you squash down the fold on the left, it will stretch a bit more, so you want to get your 7 inches. So you get your 7 inches exactly. You don't need to overcast this end because it's going to be in stitching anyway. Then what I'll do is I'll take this, measure 3 inches back, 1, 2, 3, and put another clip. Oops. I'll put another clip there. So I know exactly where to sew to. Put one on both sides and I'll show you why in a minute. And then I usually put 2 more at this end, and this stops the tape twisting as you're sewing. Now, okay, so you can take this one off now. So now we're going to do the stitching here, okay, for the loop. Right, we're going to do our stitching for a loop, so make sure the tape lines up. Start at the end, and what you want to do is a zigzag stitch that doesn't come off the end, is a little bit in from the end on the right hand zigzag, okay. So first of all we're going to start off as before. We're going to do a straight stitch backwards and forwards. Now, don't know if you saw that, there's some little loops coming up. Yeah, see that? That's no good. So that is because I didn't hold the one underneath strong enough. You might get that if you don't hold the threads properly. So just take it off, cut the loops, and you should be able to pull these through. There you go. Yeah, start off again, start clean again. You don't want any loops like that. So for sure sewing doesn't always go right. Right, this time make sure there's no slack, hold them properly. Much better. Now you want zigzag. I'm going to go with a 2 on my dial, but you can see what works for you, and then just go down. And what I'm doing is I'm sewing and I'm looking at this edge on the foot. There'll be a distance of where it hits the foot, and I'm keeping that consistent. And where I had these, this is, I know where I want to sew to, so I take one off, then I know this edge of this clip is where I want to go to, probably a little bit before. Now on this one I get to the end, then I'll put my distance to 0, and it goes backwards and forwards in the same position. And put it back to my 2 that I want, and reverse. Now this time I'll be looking at this edge of the material back here on the back edge of the foot, and I'll keep that in line to make sure it's consistent. Now let's have a look at this stitching. don't know if you can see it here. There you go. This is the zigzag stitching. Now I'll measure it for you so you can see the zigzag on your machine. So on this one I've got 11 zigzags per inch. So something like that's fine. You don't want it too fine because it will weaken it. Too large, it won't be strong enough, so about 11 is good. Now I'm just trimming off the thread at the back here while I'm down at the other end, because when you get back up it's very hard to trim the thread. You don't want that catching. So now we're going to go backwards. Coming up to the start, and now again we're going to do forwards, backwards, just to lock it off. And there you go, let's have a look at that. There we go, we have zigzag. It doesn't have to overlay completely, it can cross over, that's fine. And on the back, similar sort of thing. So nice, neat and tidy, no loops, nice and strong. So one of these on his own is actually strong enough, if it is in the middle, say, but we don't want any even loading, so we'll do one on this edge and one down the middle, separate threads, so if one fails the others will hold on. You can take these off now, that will hold it, and we'll do the same in the middle and on the edge. Okay, so now you can see close up what we've done. So we've got a nice zigzag stitch all the way along. You can just see here where I've done the lock-in stitch, see that? Backwards and forwards when you start and end, because that's a good way of stopping any thread coming out. See here, just there, and there you go. So what you end up with is your stitching, nice and neat and tidy. You have your loop, which you went for a 4-inch loop, which is that there, and just really super strong. Because it's triple, anything that fails you've got backups as well. That's never going to fail really. Gives it a nice stiffness too. Okay, there you go. So that is how you do straps, tree huggers, whatever you want, putting loops in webbing, how to stop the end fraying and not making it too bulky, just a little bit of stitching, overcast stitching at the end, and very easy. So go on eBay, get some polypropylene webbing 1 inch, and do some practicing. Practice on the cheap stuff before you practice on the nice stuff. So there you go. Lightweight tree huggers, nice and easy DIY project. See you in the next vid. Cheers, bye.